Good morning from the Climatron, everybody. I'm Christina. This is Cassidy. We are here at the Missouri Botanical Garden this morning. Here in St. Louis, it's in the 30s today, and it's actually been flurrying this morning. A little bit of snow coming down. So we thought on this first truly cold day of the season, it would be nice to do a little bit of a tropical getaway this morning. So we are going to take you on a virtual tour of the Climatron today. So thanks for tuning in. I'll turn this camera around and we will get started. Right at the front of our path here is this really striking hot pink bloom. And this is the Lea plant. It's L-E-E-A. And right here, a beautiful hibiscus. The size of that is so big. So it's always great to be able to come to the Climatron in the winter time and kind of see green again. So as we're heading into that season, thought we would take you through and show you that there's always something in bloom here. Here's a really cool one.
Yeah, this is a heliconia that comes from southern Mexico and Nicaragua, and you can just see like a really interesting flowering structure. And these are the fruits. They kind of look like kernels of corn. And the flowers are kind of tucked up in there, but just a really neat flowering structure on this heliconia. Oh, and I'll show this off too, because I made this mistake earlier. When we were looking at the heliconia earlier, I just went to rest my hand on this tree here, and that was a mistake. These are very sharp thorns coming out of the trunk of this silk floss tree, and I just
put your full weight right on there.
Right
yeah.
on there. And I will never do that again.
And while we're here by this Chihuly glass, I wanted to mention that as we're doing construction on the visitor center, that blue chandelier of Chihuly's that is a favorite of so many people here in St. Louis is going to start being taken down tomorrow and cleaned. And after it's finished being cleaned, it's actually going to be a neighbor to this Chihuly right here. It's going to go up in the Climatron. So you'll still be able to see that sculpture even as we're going through construction. And this bloom here is called the Lady of the Night, is the common name.
It's actually in the tomato and potato family, so that's kind of neat.
And as we're walking through here, I did want to mention for everyone watching that tomorrow is Giving Tuesday. So if you've been enjoying our virtual tours, I would encourage you to consider giving a gift to the garden tomorrow for Giving Tuesday. Your gift will support our educators, horticulturists, researchers, including some of the work that they do abroad, like this, which we may have talked about this bed before, but in case we have some new viewers today, the plants in this bed are from our work in Mauritius and Madagascar, and we're able to research those plants abroad and bring some back here to study and protect endangered species. Here in front of us is the Mauritian bloody bellflower, which isn't in bloom at the moment, but when it is, it's this lovely periwinkle flower with red colored nectar, which is very unusual. So that's one of the plants that we work on here at the garden.
We actually do quite a bit of work in tropical regions around the world, in part because that's where that's where many of the biodiversity hotspots are. So that's where we're going to find the largest number of plant species in a very small space. And of course, St. Louis is not a tropical climate. So what's great about the Climatron specifically is that it allows us to bring some of that work that we're doing in other countries around the world here for people to see, that they wouldn't otherwise be able to see. Because as we mentioned at the start of the tour, it's about 30 degrees outside, and pretty much everything in here wouldn't be able to last outside. So we have this nice big dome structure and tropical climate here that gives us both pretty flowers and a way to hold some of these endangered plants, like the Mauritian bloody bellflower, actually hold them. It's called ex situ, so outside of their normal environment, we're able to hold them here and hopefully keep that species from going extinct. So really neat extra layer to what the Climatron is doing besides just being a nice warm place with lots of greenery.
Yes, absolutely. And your Giving Tuesday gifts will support that mission. Some orchids in bloom. These ones were not in bloom the last time I was in here.
Yeah, and then this is a really neat orchid as well.
And some more down here.
Yeah, and I actually wanted to point out down here, this is actually a bromeliad, so it's related to pineapples, and it just has this really interesting, these hot pink bracts and then that flower, dark purple flower coming out of the top. So it caught my eye when we were walking through earlier. And so just really neat and colorful there, the bromeliad, and then there's this really sort of pretty white orchid up above it. And another one above that, that looks like maybe a cattleya or something, another orchid.
Oh, and here's another one now. This one is really in peak bloom, it looks like. And I can smell that through my mask. That's very, very fragrant.
And if you stick with us for a few minutes here, just take a look. Remember how big this orchid is, and then we'll show you one that's a lot different size as we continue our walk through here.
Now we're coming to one of my favorite parts of the Climatron, which is the food section. This right here in front of us is a jackfruit tree. So some of you might be familiar with jackfruit. It's often used as a meat substitute, like jackfruit tacos are a fairly popular dish in recent years. And if you look up in this tree, you can see some of those jackfruit right up there at the top. Now you can't tell probably on the video, but those are the size of a person's head. Huge, heavy fruits growing up there here in the Climatron.
And one other thing that I'll mention while we're here, kind of going back in this direction, I was just showing you that bromeliad with the hot pink. So this is the more famous cousin, botanical cousin here. This is pineapple, and I don't see any fruits on this one in particular right now, but we have had fruits on here before, and it's just kind of interesting to see how the fruit that you buy at the grocery store, what it looks like, and you know, you can actually cut off the top of the pineapple, stick it in a pot, and grow a new plant. So if you're like me and you're looking for activities to do with your kids while you're stuck inside all winter, you could try growing a pineapple. And another thing that I'll point out is sugar cane here. So there's this reed coming out of and it's maybe 15 feet tall, and that's a huge stalk, and that's where most of the sugar comes from. It's refined out of this plant, and so just kind of interesting to me anyway to think about all those sweets and baked goods that you probably just ate over the Thanksgiving weekend, and all the sugary sweets that you'll be eating as we get further into the holiday season. And that star ingredient in a lot of that sugar comes from a plant, and it comes from a grass. It's actually in the grass family. So kind of neat to see this huge stalk of sugar cane here. And it's really interesting. They've harvested some in here before, and I've gotten to taste it. And you can kind of just take a piece of it and chew on it, and it's like a sugar bomb. It's really interesting to me. And I suppose since we're talking about sugar, we can talk about one of the other things, which is chocolate. We'll come in here. None of these are quite ripe yet, but you can see these pods coming off the tree. This is the cacao plant, and these pods. Here's a nice big one. So these pods, when they're ripe, will turn yellow, and then you're actually taking the inside of it and fermenting it and roasting it, and that's how you get chocolate. So again, another look at the plant where some of your favorite foods come from.
Hi.
These are just starting to open. These are little orchids too.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
We were just talking about another orchid.
Yeah, we were looking at one of the big white orchids up there, and I told everyone to keep an eye out because we'd show you the difference. Those other orchid flowers were the size of my hand. This one's not even the size of my fingernail.
Yeah, that one's not completely open. These guys are just about done.
Oh yeah.
But then, let me show you these before I forget.
And this is Susie. She works in the Climatron. Oh, we're live, but that's okay. What do you want to show us? Let's come take a look.
Well, then you'll have to come back.
That's all right. We can do that.
As I was watering, I remembered this orchid down here is in bloom, and it's another one of the little ones.
Okay.
That if you don't know what you're looking at, you just walk right by it. And you get to go in the special class closer.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
These are all little bitty orchids.
That is so cool. You're right. I never would have known that that is an orchid.
Yeah, they're really pretty little things.
And the plant that's right next to it is a cactus, right?
Right.
Which is not what most people think of when they think cactus.
Well, Grandma's Christmas cactus came from the rainforest.
Okay.
originally. Growing up, I had no idea, and I was just absolutely fascinated when I found out. You know,
Yeah.
because my grandma always had Christmas cactus. Then to find out that they came from the rainforest and they were epiphytes. It was just like, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, awesome. I'm glad you.
Oh yeah.
Big looking orchids, they open, they last a day, and they're done.
Wow.
Wow.
So if you guys can see, it's right here. These orchids, they only bloom for a day, Susie was saying.
Okay, thank you for interrupting.
Yeah.
That was great.
Very
While we're
cool.
here, Christina, I'll talk a little bit about this too, because I like this.
Sure.
Most people know this is Spanish moss, but it is neither from Spain nor is it a moss. So just sort of interesting how a common name of a plant isn't necessarily correct. So Spanish moss, definitely. I mean, you see this all over if you go down to Florida, just hanging from the trees, and we have some here.
Yeah.
I would like to go back up to where we were because there's another neat food plant that's actually in full fruit right now, and it's really cool to see. Did you notice it when we walked by?
Oh, I didn't, but I see it now. This has been close to fruiting for about a month now. I've been keeping my eye on it. This is the jaboticaba tree.
Yeah, and so these are the fruits. You can see they grow in these big clusters right off the trunk here. And a clue to that is actually in its botanical name. So it's Plinia cauliflora. And cauliflory is when a plant flowers directly off of its trunk or main branches. So some of the other food plants we were just talking about, chocolate and jackfruit, are both also cauliferous. And you can just kind of see this is edible. It's really sweet. So the outer piece of the fruit, the dark purple, is actually kind of sour, but then the inner pulp is actually quite sweet. And
Kind of like a plum, where the skin is kind of tart and the inside is pretty sweet.
Yeah, and it's edible. Please don't come here and pick these, but it is an edible fruit, and just very neat. I mean, I love the kind of speckled bark of this tree, and then to have the fruits just coming right off the trunk like that is really, really neat.
Yeah, and I'm gonna pan up for everyone to see too, because it goes pretty high up. It's not just down here at the base. The fruits are way up there.
Yeah. Way up there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Pretty much, if there is branch, there is fruit. As high as it goes. It's very cool.
This is neat. I think this is new. This is called the common
pudding
name says chocolate pudding fruit. I actually don't know the story of why it has that common name, but I can tell from the botanical name here that this is a relative of the American persimmon, which is in fruit right now. It's a native fruit tree, and there's actually quite a bit of diversity in this Ebenaceae family, Ebenes, and that's it's actually a plant family that we study quite extensively in Madagascar, and help to protect members of that family that are endangered by deforestation in that country. So this one, as you can see from the sign, is from the Americas, Mexico to Colombia. And again, this is one of those, I do this all the time when I come to the garden. I see something and then I go home and I Google it later and look it up, because now I want to know why that's called the chocolate pudding fruit.
Yeah. Well, if the texture is anything like persimmons, maybe that's where it gets that pudding name from. Kind of mushy. And here we're walking now under some banana plants. Not a whole lot. Oh, I spoke too soon. There is some fruit up here. Right there. We've been talking about bromeliads a lot on this tour. Some of them are down closer to the ground here. So here's a really cool one. And you can see how the structure of the plant here is a little bit familiar. It looks like the top of a pineapple, like we were talking about earlier. So you can imagine if you were to plant the top of a pineapple, this is what it would grow into. You little fish are active today. The sun's starting to come out, it looks like. Like we were mentioning, it's outside of the Climatron here in St. Louis. It's been snowing this morning. So on days like today, it's always fun to escape into the rainforest here in the Climatron. So thank you guys again for tuning in today and joining us here in the Climatron. And I did just want to mention one more time for anyone who's tuning in, tomorrow is Giving Tuesday, and any gift that you're able to give helps to support the garden's mission, our researchers, educators, horticulturists, and would be so appreciated this holiday season. So thank you again for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you soon on our next virtual tour.